I'm so thoroughly convicted of the truthfulness of Jesus. You know, he really did walk this earth and prove that he was God and rise from the dead to show that he has the power over death. I think once you're convicted of that, you couldn't possibly look away from the guy. You know, he just pulls you in with his laser beam. I really want to just follow him all my days and do what I can to help others know him and trust him. Hi, my name's Tom. I am the senior pastor at St Mark's Church at the University of New England in Armidale. I'm married to Alison, got 3 great little kids. I became a Christian in high school. Some faithful Christians came to my high school from the local church and ran a lunchtime group, and one of my buddies invited me along in year 8. I remember being enticed by the thought of hot chips at lunchtime, signed me up, and stayed for the love that these people had. You know, coming in, week out for a ragtag bunch of kids at the local high school. And there was never like a definitive moment, but by sort of year 11, I was thinking of myself as a Christian. I wanted to live differently. I knew Jesus loved me, and went to uni and kind of got put in, a little sapling got put in the greenhouse and just grew like crazy. Yeah, as I was growing as a Christian at university at Macquarie Uni, I was encountering these people doing these ministry apprenticeships and thought, hey, this is kind of interesting. I wasn't too sure what I was going to do career-wise, was kind of open to things. And a few people at that point in time started saying, Tom, you should think about ministry. And in particular, why don't you give it a go through MTS? You know, a bit of a try before you buy. You can taste and see if it's for you. And if it's not, that's okay. But if it is, wonderful. And so got to the end of uni and decided to dive in and do MTS, mostly at my home church, which was Glenmore Park Anglican. That was 2008. Under Ben Gray and Craig Hamilton, which was just a wonderful year. Loved that year. I was part of a cohort of people who were doing MTS together, and Ben and Craig were fresh out of college and full of enthusiasm and zeal. I'm sure they still have it, but it was just a really lovely year. At the end of that year, I actually changed churches. I got married, and it felt like the right thing to do to change churches. And so I moved to Emu Plains Anglican, just over the river from Glenmore Park, and continued getting trained by Roger Cunningham, who's become a really good friend. And so got to spend a year with him. So a bit of a strange experience to have 2 different trainers across 2 different churches. I wouldn't recommend it, but in God's kindness, I think it really worked. I got to go from a bigger church to a smaller church, got to learn things in first year that I was then able to apply in second year. And that was just a cracking good time, really formative. From that time on, I guess I was imbibing the MTS DNA, which I think actually goes much wider than just MTS, but MTS gives us a bit of focus here in our part of the world, of making sure that we're entrusting the gospel to the next generation. So then as I've gone through Bible college and come out the other side and had opportunities to invest in others, I thought, this is worth my time. Someone invested in me, and I really want to be able to do that for others as we go. So started back then. I've been able to have a couple of apprentices myself at different churches, which has been a real thrill. The church that I'm at now has quite a deep history of running apprenticeships. We have a lot of uni students, which means that we're harvesting the fruit of the hard work of lots of other churches. They all end up at our church, and we get them at that stage in life where they're ready to go and think about ministry. And so we at St Mark's try to take on a stack of apprentices every year. And sadly, I don't have an apprentice at the moment. Maybe I'll take one on next year. I don't know. I'm still finding my feet in my new role. But I get to oversee a team that's training a bunch of apprentices, which is really fun. Training ministry apprentices is important because the gospel is important. The good news of Jesus, no one's ever going to hear better news than that. And God has chosen to entrust that to his people. We are the delivery mechanism for it. And he's also said that God's people need pastors, God's people need leaders, God's people need those who will teach the word to build up the saints. So if we want to see people across Australia get to know Jesus, we must make sure that there are thriving churches. And the way God does that seems to be having solid pastors. And they're not going to come out of nowhere. And so MTS, I think, has been a wonderful initiative historically and to date, and looking forward, looks like things are going to be continuing in this way of seeing people raised up and put into pastoral ministry. When I did MTS, I became convinced that what was needed was not just more of the same people who would keep on running MTS, but that it had to be me who then owned it going forwards. Those who trained me will eventually get old and tired, and we always need that next generation to take up the mantle and run with it. And so I think I've been trying to be someone who is on the hunt for potential apprentices throughout ministry. Sometimes God doesn't provide those people, but when He does, I think I've been wanting to be ready to say yes to that opportunity. So it's been a privilege to train a couple of people over the years. And part of me moving to my current church, which is a bigger church in a rural area that gets a lot of rural students, was the possibility of getting to run, I guess, a bigger MTS program. I'm very much passionate about rural ministry outside the major cities. And one of the biggest issues in rural areas is just a lack of people. And there's only so much that we can do to recruit people from the cities to come out to rural areas. I think it's very important that country churches are raising up country people to do country ministry. And St. Mark's is the kind of place where we can grab a bunch of these country people and train them. And St. Mark's has seen a lot of that happen and turn around and come back to do country ministry. So for me, putting my hand up to go out to St. Mark's in Armidale, a big part of the attraction was a culture of training apprentices and me getting to take my place in that in a long line of wonderful trainers over the years. I'm currently working on a project with a partner diocese in Africa, where we're trying to help them to see their churches be revitalised. And chatting with them, we've figured out that one of the missing links is actually ministry apprenticeships. They have young people who are keen, they have a Bible college, but the mechanism for helping those young keen people end up at Bible college is lacking. Again, one of the things we take for granted here in Australia is that we have this pipeline running all the way through. You look at a place like Africa where that part of the pipeline's missing and the whole church suffers. So we should be really thanking God that we have this wonderful pipeline, MTS playing a really critical role in it. We're onto something good here. If I was chatting with someone who's just thinking this through for the first time, I've got a potential young person or not so young person, someone who's keen, the right kind of person, I think the first thing to do would be count the cost. There will be a cost, and not just financial. That's probably actually the small fry in many ways. The cost to you is high. You will need to give a lot of your time to this person, and if you can't do that, then you probably shouldn't take them on. If you can, though, then you stand to benefit in a huge way, and so does the kingdom. There's just something beautiful. It's almost parent-like in getting to invest in someone like this. Spending a couple of years of your life walking side by side, getting in sync, sharing, teaching, being challenged, and it goes both ways, truly. I've found that being a trainer for apprentices has sharpened me in a stack of ways, and I see that now for the staff that I oversee as they become trainers. It really helps them in their ministry. So count the cost, but we need more gospel workers, and I feel like my peers know that, they get that. Someone tapped us on the shoulder, and if we're not doing the same, then we're robbing the future church of its pastors, and it's going to be a real doozy of a problem in 20 years' time if we don't get on with it.